Welcome back for Raising Brains training number 2 for JCC camps. I'm so happy you're here. Let's jump right into this. Now that you know your brain, let's talk a little bit about behavior. All right, let's jump right in here. So behavior is the end, not the beginning. So what you're seeing is an output of the brain, the end of what's happened. That's a way of expressing something. It is not the beginning. So let's get in here and figure out exactly what we're talking about, okay? So remember, we talked about this last time. How do we see Amy G at camp? Through behavior. So this is really important when we go and see behavior every day at camp. It's their Amy G. It's not them. It's a message, not the delivery, right? Because kids talk with their behavior, and it's our job to listen, okay? In order to listen, that means we need to become a brain detective here, right? Because I keep saying it's a message, listen to the message, not the delivery. But how do you do that? When we know behavior is the end, we need to listen a little bit differently. And I'm going to teach you how to do this by thinking about belly buttons. Yes, you have outie and innie campers, just like outie and innie belly buttons. And that will lead you to the skill that they need to build. So when we're looking at behavior, we're becoming a brain detective because we know behavior is the end and that this is likely their Amy G and something we need to teach them. If we're going to teach them something, we need to know what skill does that camper need to build. So when I talk about types of brains, remember I said think about belly buttons. You have outie campers and you have innie campers. Outie campers are the ones that yell and scream and kick and flail, and they're really outward in their behavior. I'm so angry. This is terrible. I hate this activity, right? Or maybe they're, oh, I love this. This is the best. Everything's wonderful, right? Everything is out of the brain. That is a response that tells us they're an outie brain. But our innie brains can sometimes be a little bit more difficult. These are the ones that get really quiet. So they're kind of quiet anyway, and you can see them smiling maybe or frowning. But when they're having an Amy G response, they actually pull back more. And when you're dealing with a lot of different campers and you have lots of kids in your bunk, you really want to pay attention to the quiet ones, the ones that are suddenly, when you look around, you realize, I haven't heard Amy talking in a while, and I wonder if she's okay because she keeps withdrawing from the group, getting quieter. And when I ask her how things are, she says, fine, good, yeah. Or maybe she pushes her lunch away or an ice cream away more than she normally would. And you can just kind of see that something's up, but she's not talking to you about it. Those are our innie brains. So our outie and our innie brains talk to us with their behavior in very different ways. Outie brains get more ornery. They might tell you no more. They might yell more. Normally they might follow your directions, but when they're having an Amy G issue, meaning they have a problem with another camper, maybe they have an issue with a counselor, maybe something's going on at home, maybe there's something on the bus. We don't know exactly what it is, but we know it's an Amy G response because we're getting different behaviors than we would normally see. So instead of punishing those behaviors, you can't participate in this or take your time out, right? As a punitive measure, what we want to do with those kids is make sure that we address the Amy G, find the skill, something's up. They need to learn how to express that emotion and maybe even how to identify it. Outie brains, they sometimes know how they're feeling. Most of the time they do. I'm angry. This is awful. But they don't necessarily know why. And they don't realize that they're showing you with their behavior. So our job is to connect all those for them. Innie brains have no idea what they're feeling. They don't know when they're happy, they're sad, they're anything. They just get these quiet and withdrawal behaviors. So it's our job to try to say things like, is it possible that something's bothering you? Is everything okay? I noticed that you're a little different today. What's up? We want to help them identify how they're feeling so that they can then express it so that they can get rid of that feeling and change their behavior also. So that's the difference between your outie campers and your innie campers. Now, half of you are probably like, what is this lady talking about here? Like our camper here. Well, I'm going to help you a little bit more. Okay. And if you're like, I don't understand. Remember, let's go back to basics. How do kids tell us what they need? They do that with their behavior, right? So we're always going to start with the behavior, and it's our job to listen to the message and not the delivery. So if they're yelling and kicking and screaming, or maybe we went near them when an outie brain, for example, is having a really big meltdown, I don't want to do this, I hate this. If you go towards them, you're going to get hit or kicked. We want to give them space to have that emotion and let their bodies calm down before we go close to them, right? So we're watching this delivery, which it might be really difficult, making sure that they're safe and the other campers are safe. But what we're thinking is, what are they trying to tell us? Let's put on that brain detective cap and try to figure that out. Because the Raising Brains model at JCC Camp is a way of thinking. So what we normally say, we often find ourselves asking things like, what's wrong with Sarah today? Why is she being so defiant? And I can tell you, my parents said this to me all the time. But instead, what I want you to start doing is thinking of 2 magic questions. And these really are like magic questions. If you change the way you think about your campers, your entire summer is going to change and their entire summer is going to change. So the first is, what does this brain need to learn? What does this brain need to learn? And the second one is, what can I teach this brain? When I start thinking this and putting my brain detective cap on, my Amy G calms down, which is the number one thing we need, because I need my Franny to be able to think about these things. And if you think about that process, that's what you're trying to teach your campers. So if you have a kid getting really angry, I don't want to do this, this is stupid, this is dumb, right? And you scream back, would you stop it? Knock it off. Why are you ruining everyone's time? I'm matching their style. I got upset with them. They're upset. And now both of our Amy Gs are acting out. What we want to do is say, wait a minute. Why do I think Bobby is this upset about this? What could be going on? And if they don't want to do it, maybe they're embarrassed. Maybe they don't have the skills. Maybe they are really bored. They don't like it, but there's other ways of expressing that using their Franny. And if I can show my Amy G out and use my Franny, I can model that and I can help Bobby learn the right way of expressing it. Now I found the skill to build and I listened to the message and not the delivery. Okay. So what does this look like at camp? Okay. Here's what it looks like. We ask our questions to ourselves, our magic questions, right? What does this little brain need to learn? What can I teach this little brain? Now, if you go around asking your campers, what does your little brain need to learn? If they're little, they might giggle, right? But if they're a little bit older, you're going to get a water balloon thrown at your head. So you don't want to ask those questions. But what you do want to ask to your campers are things like, hey, is there something I can help you with? Or what's a good next step? Maybe, are you feeling okay? A lot of times we have feelings in our body that we don't know what they are. We have to learn that, hey, my stomach might be hurting or might be dehydrated, right? Or maybe one of the campers is bugging me and I don't realize it. So is something bothering you? So you really want to try to make sure that their bodies are okay, especially because you're out in the heat. And heat is probably the number one trigger for your Amy G, when your body feels funny, right? The second one is about eating as well. So we also want to ask things like, what have you eaten today? Are you hungry? And then things like, what do you need to be successful? What can I do for you? When someone is on your team, think about your best manager or your parent or your coach or somebody that you really value their opinion. They're likely on your team and you feel like they're supporting you. So when they say things to you, they're out to help you. That's the perspective you want to have here. So those are the kinds of questions you want to have, because you're trying to figure out what's going on with them so you can help them identify those things, find the skill, and help them build it. And typically the skill at camp is figuring out what we're thinking and how to express that in a way that's a little more appropriate so that we can meet their needs. And once they have those needs met, they're going to be able to express that to you over time in a much better way, and your relationship's going to be better as well. So speaking of relationships, this is the number one key for the summer, right? Find the skill to build. Remember that behavior is the end and not the beginning. And I want you to think about outie and innie brains as you try to help your kiddos identify what their needs are. And we want to set up our bunk to help everyone build skills. So remember I said, people you value are the ones that come to you and you know that they're supportive. So when you set up your bunk in general to be supportive and successful, and everybody's working on something. So not just the kids, but you're also working it. As a matter of fact, if your Amy G does lose it and you do yell at the kids, or you do act with your Amy G and not with your Franny in a controlled manner, that's okay. The key is to just say to them, hey, listen, I was acting with my Amy G and not my Franny, not my best counselor moment. I'm going to work on that. And then you guys can talk about ways that they could help you or you could help them. That's a positive thing. You're not supposed to be perfect. You're doing your best. As long as you continue to look at what you're doing and try to be better, that's all we're trying to teach kids. And that's all we're trying to ask for from counselors. So we want to help campers glow and grow just like the counselors. And you're going to get familiar with this glow and grow model because you're going to be using this to look at your own performance in camp as a counselor, and you're going to be using it with your kiddos too. So you're really going to get a great idea about how to understand how to glow and grow. So what we're looking for is what's called a growth mindset approach. So we really want to think about things like, instead of I can't do it, it's I'm working on it, I'm getting better. And you can look at this chart for other examples, but the idea is not that you are either good or bad. It's that this might be something you want to work on and get better at. Remember, not perfection. It's the working on it that makes you good. So remember, we're not just helping kids, we're raising brains. And if we're doing it right, we're teaching these kiddos how to change their own brains. So now you can be a brain detective. You can ask your magic questions. What does this little brain need to learn? What can I teach this little brain? And help to grow that relationship between Amy G and Franny's in your campers and probably in yourselves. Remember, it's about how you think about your campers, right? So openness and desire to help, that's that growth mindset we're talking about. That equals supported campers. Supported campers equals happy Amy G's, happy campers, happy counselors, and fewer quote behaviors. Because remember, behaviors are a message for us. We have to listen to that message and not the delivery. So that's all for now. See you at orientation. It was so nice spending a couple sessions with you. I hope you learned a lot, and I can't wait to see how fabulous your year is with your campers at camp.